Iron Fist is the latest show to be added to the Netflix MCU after Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, and now I've seen the entire season. I'm going to be reviewing the whole season, not just episodes 1 through 6 or the first episode as some critics have done. Strangely, I've actually watched all 13 hours of this show and am prepared to review it. I like Iron Fist. He was never one of my favorite characters. I never really viewed him as an essential read, but due to the 3 previous Netflix shows that I highly enjoyed, I was excited to see Iron Fist, and I was hoping that it would be pretty good. The basic plot of this is that Danny Rand returns from a 15-year absence. He was in a plane crash. Everyone thinks he's dead, but secretly he's been training at Kunlun, this monastery in which he has learned to harness his inner chi to become the Iron Fist. He can make his fist glow, and he can do amazing things with it, and he's also like a kung fu master. He's also having a difficult time proving that he is who he is because no one wants to believe him, and he sounds like a crazy person. He's been in a monastery for 15 years in the middle of nowhere, and he's saying all these random things, and no one really gets him anymore. So he has to prove who he is while also fighting against the evil hand and becoming friends with Colleen Wing, who runs her own dojo. She takes in kids off the streets, tries to give them a safe haven, tries to teach them how to fight, and their 2 ideals go hand in hand. Now I'm going to get into some minor plot points of the first 2 episodes, not spoilers, just I can't really talk about the show's plot without talking about some of these storylines. When Danny returns from his isolation, he wants to go back to his former business. This is now being run by his 2 friends, Joy and Ward. And quite a bit of this show's runtime is taken up by a lot of the things that go on at this corporation. Rather than Iron Fist being Iron Fist and doing a lot of really cool Iron Fist stuff, it tends to focus more on this company. When Danny makes a fool of himself, somebody is filming him, and then there's bad publicity for this company. They're trying to work through various legal problems and litigation. They're being sued by people who are getting sick. And a lot of the show is bogged down by this company and the choice to constantly focus on this as a main storyline. See, where other shows have filler, that tends to happen in the later seasons when the show is starting to run out of creativity. One of my favorite shows of all time is Dragon Ball Z, but I have no problem admitting that pretty much the entire Majin Buu saga feels like filler. There's so much filler in that saga that I was like, okay, they probably should have just ended this after Cell. You could even say that that show could have ended after the Frieza saga, but they wanted to make more. In the case of the first season of Iron Fist, there's a humongous amount of time dedicated to whole plot lines that feel like filler. But this is the first season, and they're treating a lot of these storylines with quite a bit of time. For instance, Ward and his father, who everyone thinks is dead, is actually not dead. And he keeps going back to him, and this guy eventually becomes a very serious antagonist. And there's a lot of time dedicated to Ward and his daddy issues, and where some of it can be very interesting. For the most part, it's just kind of boring, and you want to get back to what's going on with Iron Fist and Colleen, because that's the most interesting storyline in the entire first season. There's a lot of stuff with the hand, which we've heard about previously in other shows, which is also a lot of fun and very, very compelling. But the show keeps reverting back to the Rand Corporation and a lot of really boring subplots that it simply weighs down the pacing of the show. Let's talk about Finn Jones as Iron Fist. He's received a lot of criticism due to his performance. Even before people even saw the show, they wanted somebody perhaps who was an Asian American to play this character, and they've called it whitewashing. Well, whitewashing is when you take a white actor and give him or her a role that was meant or written for someone of another race. Danny Rand in the comics is a white guy born in New York. So this isn't whitewashing, it's just they were trying to be true to the comics, but certain fans of the comics are also like, well, maybe you could have been more progressive. And look, in all honesty, after seeing the full first season, it wouldn't matter if this guy was red, blue, or purple. The writing for his character is very weak. And a lot of people have labeled Finn Jones as the problem. And his performance does have issues. He spends a lot of the time monologuing about how, I am the Iron Fist. Look, I spent 15 years of training. Not you, me. I am the Iron Fist. Not you. Guess what? Me. I am the Iron Fist. Look, my hand. Oh, it's not working right now. Because they don't want me to do the Iron Fist thing too much. Because it's cheesy, I guess. But I am the Iron Fist. It's not all Finn Jones. His performance does have some really good moments, and you can tell that he is really passionate about this. It's just that the writing for his character isn't compelling in the least. He's a very bland hero, and in this case, this is probably the first time in the MCU's history where the casting of the main hero hasn't been just 100% perfect. Because up until now, they've basically made the perfect choice for casting a character, for the most part. Not every character. I'm talking about the main hero. In the case of maybe like Tilda Swinton and Doctor Strange, that could have been somebody else. But she was fine in that movie. I'm not saying she did bad. It's just that casting there was a little not so much. But in regards to the main hero of every franchise, they've always really done a great job. Here, I'm a little off and on with him, and that's really how I feel about this entire first season. I'm a little off and on with it. It takes about till episode 6 to really get going. Episode 6 is actually pretty great. Also, I think the best episode in the entire show is 12, the one right before the season finale. That episode was awesome. Really, really fantastic. Whenever the show tries to have some energy, it picks up quite a bit. I don't want to sound like I didn't like the first season of Iron Fist. It's just disappointingly a bit hollow. They do try to tell a compelling story in regards to Danny's past, but the hero in this show that I liked the most, and my favorite character in the entire first season, is easily Colleen Wing. Jessica Henwick is fantastic. Her action scenes are a lot of fun. She gives quite a bit of energy and passion to them, and her more emotional sequences are also very fulfilling. She also has a very rich and conflicted past. She's easily the best character in season 1, without a doubt. But whenever the show really does feel like it's finally getting going, it reverts back to that subplot with Harold Meacham, one of the main antagonists of the show, and it's just bland. I just don't like that subplot. I don't really need it in the show, and so much attention is given to that family. And it's necessary to tell this story, but man, it's just kind of a drag to get through those scenes. Let's talk about the action scenes, because they've also received a lot of criticism. The editing could be better. The action and choreography could also be better. It suffers from the first few seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer syndrome. I'm wearing a shirt because I'm a big fan. I finished the show, by the way, really liked it. But the first few seasons of Buffy, you can tell instantly whenever Sarah Michelle Gellar is replaced with a stunt woman. Towards the final few seasons, they got better, and she did more of the action stuff too. But this first season of Iron Fist, you can always tell whenever a stunt double replaces Finn Jones. He does do more than I would expect, and it's easier in like Daredevil because you can put a mask on the guy and you can hide it better. But the action scenes here are fine. They're okay. And that's just not good enough after the amazing action in Daredevil. And even Luke Cage had fantastic action sequences. This takes more of the route that Jessica Jones took, where you have someone who does have superhuman abilities, but they choose to not use them or really focus on them. And so you get more stuff about his company and just more simple kung fu sequences, and every once in a while, he'll glow up that fist. Now in Jessica Jones, the storyline was actually extremely compelling, and the antagonist versus protagonist was really fun. David Tennant and Kristen Ritter, they were both really great together, and the main storyline of that show, I was invested. There were episodes that dragged, just like in Luke Cage and Daredevil. Every single one of these MCU Netflix shows has a few episodes where you're like, all right, let's get going here. I had issues with Daredevil season 2. It wasn't perfect. A lot of the Elektra storyline felt a little it wasn't the greatest. But here, it's just that the main story isn't really that interesting. And so the fact that he doesn't do a lot of his Iron Fist stuff makes it kind of boring. I gotta say, I mean, for a show called Iron Fist, I wanted more Iron Fisting. I'm going to stick with that. I would say this is the weakest of the most recent MCU shows on Netflix. It's not awful. I think the Rotten Tomatoes score is actually extremely low, far too low. And I would say that a lot of that does have to do with the fact that a lot of critics in their reviews admitted that they either are just reviewing the pilot or the first 6 episodes. That's not cool. I mean, you wouldn't just watch half of a movie and review it. You wouldn't just be like, oh, I just watched the first hour of, say, The Avengers. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to review it now. That's Iron Fist would say, that's dishonorable. I am the Iron Fist. Not you. I am the Iron Fist. That score is far too low. I mean, that's like Fant Four Stick level. Come on, the show's not that bad. It's got problems. The lead is not the greatest. He could be considerably better, but he could also be written better too, and that's a major issue. My favorite character, as I said, Colleen Wing. She's amazing. I'd like to see more of her in season 2, and I hope that for the Defenders, Iron Fist is a more lighthearted and fun presence, and not so tortured and crybaby-ish, because unfortunately he is that way in this show. There are good episodes. There are good moments, there are some compelling storylines, but in the end, Iron Fist Season 1 was a mixed bag for me, and I'm going to give it a C+. Could have been better, had some issues, but it is not as bad as some critics are saying, that's for sure. Give the show a chance, watch it for yourself, try to get through episode 6, and I think it picks up after that, but you're still going to have some problems with the show more than likely, unless you just love things. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. I also want to thank Atom Tickets, ATOM, because they are sponsoring my videos. If you guys do download the Atom Tickets app on your Android or iOS and use the coupon code CHRIS5, you can get $5 off your first order. Now, this is a fantastic app for movie fans. I've used it myself. You can browse all of the new releases, look for the release dates and the schedules and the theaters and the showtimes. You can also pre-buy concessions, which is awesome. They have a fantastic option for paying separately where you all can go to one film, set it up, and then pay separately so you don't have to worry about IOUs, which is very annoying with other services. You don't have to do that here. It's a fantastic service, so please do use that coupon code CHRIS5. And you can get $5 off your first order. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. I hope you check out Iron Fist and decide for yourself, because there's a lot of bad buzz out there. The show has some good things. You know, it has some things to offer. It's not a terrible show. I think it's worth a watch if you're a humongous fan of the other shows, but for some people, it is going to be very middling and middle of the road, which is kind of how I feel about it. Guys, thank you once again for watching. Look forward to my reviews of Ghost in the Shell, as well as Gifted. You guys are the best, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.